Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. What would happen if the West abandons Ukraine? This is the question two experts ask in a Ukrainian media outlet, the Kiev Independent. And like I rarely do, I read the article. I read the article where these two people here, they claim that will be the end of the world. It was going to be the end of the world. How? Because they come with one scenario. Putin wants to take over the world, Europe first Ukraine, then Poland, and then probably other countries. This is the thesis, and they provide their evidence. Here it is. The Kiev Independent opinion. What happens if the West abandons Ukraine? Question mark. January 17th by Anna Husarska and Mikola Vikniavsky. Both of them seem to be men. Anna. Anyway, who are these guys? So, this is what they claim in this article, and I will give you my interpretation of what I think will happen. The problem is they go with only one scenario. This is what's going to happen. I don't think it's like that, but let me show you. So these guys claim that first, the Russians, we believe that Putin would then set his sights on NATO countries, beginning with Poland. So after Putin is done with Ukraine, if he's allowed, if the Western world, the Western help ceases, then he's gonna go and attack Poland. And if he's not going to attack Poland, NATO countries, they say, will not intervene. That's what they claim. Why? Because of someone who says that actually Article 5 isn't sacrosanct. That means if Poland is attacked, then NATO countries might not intervene. And then he says that after that Poland is going to be done, so are we headed towards World War III by proxy? Will Russia manage not to effectively to seize Ukraine, but also to invade Poland and potentially other countries without even having to face NATO head-on? Question mark. Putin is, after all, a master of deniability. Okay, Russians even have a saying for blunt disavowal, like other countries don't. Okay, of responsibility. I am not me. Ja nie ja. Okay, it's not me, whatever. So this is what they claim. Now, when you try to reach a conclusion or give a scenario, you say, okay, let me see what these guys might do, in what direction this goes. It's like a river. This is the question, the river. And the river flows into the sea. And it's not one straight line. Usually, let's look at a big river like the Amazon, or look at the Danube River. They have a delta. So from one it splits in two, from two this thing splits in three, so you already got what, 6, and from 6 they split in this and that. So at the end, you're gonna have maybe 1 or 2 big river flows going in, and 1,000 little things that go in, little rivers that sprang from the main thing. That's how it is. So what are the main arteries? Let's say you have three arms. That's how you call them. So the main arm, let's say you have 3, or maybe you have two thick ones. Those are the scenarios most likely to be, to become true. The rest are over there. They're flowing into the sea, but they're not that important. How do you get to those arms to assess them that they are most likely these are the ones? By analyzing past events, the psychology of the guy, and the reaction of the other parts. For instance, they say this in this article. Russia, if those guys stop, Russia will conquer and beat Ukraine, will install a puppet, blah, blah, blah. And then, because that's the way they are, that's what they claim. Now, I disagree with that. That's the way they are, imperialistic. They will want to go further, because that's the way they are. Now, that's the way they are is, again, look at the history and you're going to see some other country on this planet are the countries that's the way they are actually. But hey, whatever. You can look at Russia. Yeah, Russia got by this and expanded by. So did United States of America. So did Great Britain. So did Spain, Portugal, and many other colonial powers. Correct? Correct. Now, if we look at that, and if you go to the recent history, you got NATO, which is right a few countries over there, doing the same thing, bombing whomever, and actually taking over those areas of interest, of influence. Not Russia, these guys. So if you judge by the same, use the same logic, these guys are more prone. Their arm is thicker than every other arm that you would look. The Russian arm is much thinner than the American arm or the British or NATO arm that flows into the sea, if you use the same logic. But nevertheless, and after the Russians are doing what they do in Ukraine, they will go into Poland. The West will not react. And then after Poland is like a bear who, tastes the human flesh, then it's going to start killing men, humans. And then they're going to kill another one because nobody opposes the bear. And the bear will kill everybody, and then it's going to eat himself because that's the way he is. Right? Right. So this is this not idiotic. This is an arm of this. One of them, but I think is very thin because I have another one and another one that's much thicker than this one. So let me tell you, every time you make a decision, like you say, okay, these guys stop. They don't provide Ukraine with weapons and any support. What will happen? Well, definitely Russia will conquer or will take over Ukraine. And here you got the big arm is going to spread in two. How will it take over? Will it take over like conquering Ukraine or just controlling it with puppet leaders? Because that matters. There's two arms right there. Correct? And from this, we're going to have to go here, which is going to probably spread in 5 arms, and it's going to spread in 3 arms. So we're already we got what? 8 arms we're going to have. So let's say Russia conquers it. If Russia conquers it, that's it. It's done. Ukraine is over there. And Russia puts a puppet, installs a puppet, whatever. It's going to be, again, Russia is different. If you install a puppet, you say, well, they're going to meet because they, according to these guys, will invade Poland. But I'm not sure they will invade Poland. So right there, this arm meets with the other one that will not invade Poland. Do we agree? I don't think it's going to invade Poland. What? Okay, why? We have a few scenarios. Why? If you say that's the way they are, we already talked about that one. Because the Americans and NATO are more than the Russians on that. They have more experience than the Russians. So if you use that logic, that's the way they are, taking over and bombing, and because that's the way they are, you got the other side a little bit more experience, So that will be ignored. So what will be the purpose of going to Poland? Just to punish them? Is that what it is? That again indicates that the Russians have something wrong with the Poles. And the Poles are arming themselves. Why are the Poles arming themselves? Oh, to fight the Russians? Okay, so let's take this idiotic scenario. The Russians attack Poland. Now, again, you have 2 splits. Will Russians will be able to beat the Poles? Will not be able to beat the Poles. Now, again, will NATO help them or not help them? If they don't help them, you go this way. If they help them, you go this way. Let's say they help them. Will the Russians use nuclear weapons? Now, if you use nuclear weapons, what will happen? Will NATO strike back? No or yes? So you see, it goes like this. Now, what I think could happen, and this is, let's say, the ideal scenario, the beautiful scenario that I see. I think that's the way things could happen. And I personally, subjectively would like to happen. Not would like. I think under the current circumstances, which are bad, this would be a scenario. War stops today. Okay? The Americans and the Russians, unfortunately, will decide the fate of Ukraine. Zelensky is going to be kicked out, obviously sent to Tel Aviv or London or New York, one of these 3 places. He goes over there. The West drops all this garbage of your reconstruction, you gotta hang Putin before we talk, and all this shit. This is the best scenario. Then they're going to discuss what do we do over there. And they go back actually to December 2021. Russia will receive guarantees, clear guarantees that nothing, written guarantee, even though written guarantees are, you know, you can break them and fuck off, that NATO will not do anything further, blah, blah, blah. The Ukraine will never be under the Western influence anymore. Unfortunately, it's going to be conquered or it's going to be controlled by the Russians. Ugly as it is, ugly as it is. What are the options? These guys destroy Russia? That can't happen. Russians take over and conquer Ukraine. Now, the Ukrainians, do you think is going to stay idle and accept that? No, that's going to be bad. So, but let's dream of this. Let's move forward. Let's say the Ukrainians cannot do anything. The Russians are controlling everything in Ukraine, and Ukraine is pacified. And then the Americans and the guys realize that they cannot stop the other side. And they have to focus on their own little slave plantation. And the other guys are going to create their own club. Now, if they cooperate, fantastic. If they don't cooperate, you're going to have many other wars and challenges until one of these guys are going to just bomb and we're all gone. That's the way I think. And they're going to cooperate as two entities. They will overlap here and there. With proxy here, like Soviet Union with its proxies, the United States with its proxies. That's the way it's going to be. Until something major happens somewhere, but I don't think the Russians, unless Russia, let's say, if Russia gets rid of these guys and gets traitors instead, why do I call them traitors? The traitors will be the ones who are going to be spreading Russia's legs this wide and say, for free, whenever you want, however you want, I'll do. These are going to be the traitors, which is you have access unlimited, you control our resources, you control our military, you control our society, our culture, our politics. Now those are traitors because no other country should do that. No, including the United States of America. Because if you think that's good for those guys, that means it's good for you as well. Unless, you know, it's a little discrepancy of value that you assign yourself. So that's if the Russians remain as they are, there's going to be two opposite blocks, maybe three, or people in between, like the non-aligned states. If you remember, Yugoslavia was one of them when it was two blocks, but nevertheless. And they cooperate or not cooperate is going to be two different entities, like the United States of America. You will have here, I think, in the United States of America, a separation, let's put it mildly, a separation. You're going to have a separation, and it's already a cultural separation, and it's become wider and wider between a perverted society and a society that keeps other values, or let's put values, and they will be perverted. Pop, this distance, the rupture is going to happen until one of these sides will decide either to say, well, we're going to have a political entity here and we're going to be away from you. Or one side said, you know what, we're going to just attack you and take over because we don't like what you do. Could be both ways. But I don't think these guys want to deal with those guys over there. I think these guys cannot stand seeing someone else with a different opinion. Because if you look in reality, in life, you're going to see these guys right here who don't, who can't stand other people's opinions. And they would like they want to mandate you to follow their garbage. The other guys are saying, we just want to be left alone. No, we want to be in your life. No, we just want to be left alone. These guys are running, these guys are following them. Why? Because those guys are not producers. These guys are destroyers. Why? Anyway, that's for a different topic. So I think that's the way it would be, the best case scenario in Ukraine. As bad as it is in the world, as bad as it is for the Ukrainians. But after all, the Ukrainians were used by those guys and already killed how many hundreds of thousands of their own. The other way cannot. Russia will never go back unless they will have traitors over there, considered traitors, never go back, will never agree to say, okay, now United States, we're going to be sharing Ukraine. It's never going to be a sharing because we got killed in Ukraine because, and some reasons because, and now you want us to share? No. No. We sacrificed. You didn't. On the contrary, we consider you as partners. Okay, so I don't think Russia will share power in Ukraine with anybody. Why should? I mean, you sacrifice. Remember that joke that I usually mention that my English friend told me a long time ago, 20 years ago or so, more than 20 years ago. He said, and it's an ugly joke for the Irish, but I'm going to use it because he was making fun of everybody. He was calling me a sweaty, hairy Romanian. Okay, yeah, I take that. So what? All right. So I was calling him differently. So it was like this. We could make this kind of joke. So he said that one time, this is the joke, that one time an Irish guy, I mean, he was making fun of everybody. Irish guy tried to swim across the English Channel, and he swam halfway. And when he got it halfway, he got tired, and he turned around. He turned back instead of going. So I think the Russians, the same thing. The Russians got over there in Ukraine so deep, so many sacrifices, so much hatred at this point. Do you think they're going to say, yeah, okay, now you come over here and we're going to share this? No, you want to pull a Gaddafi on us. No, it's not going to work that way. I hope that they will just look for their own interest, as any other countries should, including Ukraine. Unfortunately, Ukraine at this point doesn't look for its own interest. It's under occupation by Al Capone. And unfortunately, they made sure they got the right people, click, 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 in charge to do their job. And cousins kill cousins, or brothers, or whatever you want to call them. So here it is, my friends. I don't think it's going to be Russia attacking Poland anytime soon, unless Poland will, and sorry, my Poles, unless Poland will, or the Baltic states will provoke something, so they thinking that somehow Russia will be drained to another Ukraine. And this time is going to be NATO countries directly fighting Russia. It's not impossible. I don't think the Russians, maybe the Russians will get mouthy and call the Estonians, hey, you are abusing our population in your country, right? I think they're about 20% in Estonia or Latvia. Estonia, I think 20% are Russians over there. Or hey, you guys in Poland, you abuse whatever you, and then you just need a reason to demand. After all, people are as we are. So I'm not saying, oh, Putin would not do that. Putin is not eternal. He doesn't gonna live forever. Who's gonna be next? And who's gonna be next? And the same thing over here, on the other side. So here it is, my friends. Scenarios. I can make a lot of scenarios. Or the biggest arm of the river that flows into the sea will be the second coming. And we're gonna all meet, and we're gonna be judged. Some of us, we're gonna go down. I'm not gonna go to the judgment day because I know where I'm going to be sent by those. Okay, so I'm going to go there straight. Don't waste his time. Okay, I'm just going straight there. So you're going to come with me. Why? Because I'm pretty sure we all sinned to that level. So nevertheless, here it is, my friends. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.